Nigel Farage is with us, friend of the program, and of course, Nigel was such an important leader in the Brexit movement, and he's a European Parliament member. I'm having you on way too often to say words I truly mean, and that my thoughts and prayers go out to your country and our friends and their families and those that were severely injured and those that were killed.
Well, the problem, Sean, is that it's happening too often, isn't it? I mean, this is now the third terrorist attack in the United Kingdom in the space of 9 weeks. And yes, of course, we always say we're desperately sorry for the people, their families, their friends. What we're not hearing from our leaders is any explanation of how a man, as you've said already, appeared on a TV documentary under an ISIS flag, was free to walk the streets. That's point one. And point two, another of these three barbarous, losers, as the Donald would call them, the third of them was on an Italian suspected terrorist list and yet was able freely to come and live in the United Kingdom. And I have to say to all of those in liberal politics and media that think the free movement of people in Europe is a good thing, I hope they all crawl away and hide and we don't hear from them ever again.
So you have one guy that was known to Italian authorities. You have another guy that was on the Jihadis Next Door show, which, as I understand it, apparently they filmed for a year. And what was the second guy? How was he known?
The second guy wasn't known. Now, given that we have 3,000 to 3,500 on the absolute danger list, we have a further 20,000 who we know to be associated with ISIS figures. The fact that the third guy wasn't known to anybody actually, Sean, frightens me more than the other two, because just how many are there living in our country? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, maybe if we had been following the other two that we did know about, maybe we would have found the third, and maybe all of this could have been prevented. And I mean, this is what's so frustrating to me, is we are willing to compromise, I know, in America. And by the way, I love our intelligence community. I'm critical of the deep state. I'm critical of those that have weaponized the intelligence agency, but I would argue that's 0.1% of those people that bravely do the good work in an evil world of intelligence gathering to keep Americans safe and our friends in Great Britain and around the world safe. But it's very, very frustrating if we're going to even compromise some privacy issues for Americans in the name of safety, and then we have an open jihadist with an ISIS flag that we don't arrest. There's no point fighting if we're that stupid.
But this is not about the intelligence community. The job, the way that we work in the UK, the job of the intelligence services is to gather information. It is the job of the politicians and our leaders to decide how to act on that information. And here is the point, and this is what makes me so angry, is that our leaders have not cracked down on any of this stuff for fear of giving offence, for fear of being thought perhaps to be racist or to be singling people out. We've effectively turned a blind eye to a massive growing problem. And I'm still, even though the general election is just 2 days away, all I'm getting is words. Nobody is telling me that we're going to stamp out the extremist preachers in our mosques. Nobody is telling me that we're going to absolutely make damn sure there's no jihadism in our prisons, in our schools. And when I campaigned about 3 years ago to say that anyone that went to Syria should not be allowed back into the country, I thought I'd won a victory when Prime Minister Cameron said they would put a new piece of legislation in. And yet, do you know what's happened? We've allowed back into Britain 400 people who fought in Syria. We've only stopped one. So what this comes down to is not a failure of intelligence. It is a failure and a lack of
I think you misunderstand. I am only saying if you have somebody that is so outspoken in their support of ISIS and you don't arrest him, I mean, if you don't do the obvious, then there's no point in even trying beyond that, because you're basically letting known jihadists walk around free and sing the praises of ISIS. Let me ask you what's happening with Sadiq Khan. I mean, this is a guy, this is going to be our way of life, and London is so safe. Anyone that tells you otherwise is ridiculous. And Donald Trump has been critical of him, and he has a visit coming soon, and there's been, I guess, an effort that is now afoot in Great Britain to stop our president from visiting, but the Prime Minister has said no, he will visit. What is going on with Sadiq Khan?
Well, about 7 or 8 months ago, Sadiq Khan made some comments where he said, after a European terrorist attack, this will become part of our way of life. Donald Trump criticized him very severely, and then after the attack on Saturday, Sadiq Khan said, nothing to worry about, guys. London is completely safe. Yeah, it's full now of police, with armed officers on the streets. And Trump said, come on, get real. There's a problem here. Now, the response to this is they all say that Trump has behaved badly. He shouldn't have said these things. Even Prime Minister May has criticized him. And there are now calls to say that Trump should not visit the United Kingdom on his scheduled trip this October. It is completely ridiculous.
How? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Nigel. It is ridiculous. How is this, in your estimation, how does this impact the elections on Thursday?
Well, I'm not sure that it does too much, because on the one hand, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, was she was our Home Secretary, effectively Director of Homeland Security for 6 years. She completely and utterly failed in that job, but she's up against Jeremy Corbyn, whose friends number the IRA, Hezbollah, and Hamas. So I think we've got a very poor choice coming up on this.
So would you predict that May stays in power?
Yes, I do. I think May will win. I don't think she's going to get the kind of landslide majority people thought previously, but I still think she will win relatively comfortably. And I think her own party, and I think commentators and critics such as me now will have to put maximum pressure on this Prime Minister to act, because otherwise these terrorist attacks could just become part of our way of life, and we must not allow that to happen.
Which is what the mayor of London said, which is insane. And to say after people were slashed to death that London's safe, no worries here. Is it true that police actually ran away, as is reported?
Well, we have a problem, okay, and it's this. You will find this hard to believe. I hope you're sitting down. We have 120,000 police officers in the United Kingdom. Only 6,000 of them are trained to carry weapons. So what happened at the weekend, one police officer very bravely tried to take on the knife attackers using just a baton. It's madness, and I'm now calling for us to start training and arming our police officers and to use the British Army, who are trained in firearms, and put them on the streets.
You probably don't know this about me, but I've been training in martial arts. I'm in my 6th year now. And it's an eclectic blend of arts, and Krav Maga and Kempo and Jiu-Jitsu and boxing and a lot of different things. But one of the main things we focus on is self-defense and blade training and firearm training. And one of the most difficult things to defend against is a blade. And if you don't have a weapon, you're not trained, you're dead. And even if you are trained, if this person is trained in the use of a blade, you're probably going to get cut up and killed.
We need a change of attitudes in the United Kingdom on this. We urgently have to start training our police officers. Had those police officers on the bridge had a pistol with them on Saturday night, they would have stopped those people being butchered in Borough Market. We have to get real, and get real very quickly indeed.
All right, we'll continue more with Nigel Farage. We'll ask him what happened to Brexit in just a minute.